My name is Joe Walsh. I'm with the Iowa Athletic Commission. And just get everybody to listen up. I'll go through the fighter meeting real quick, and I'll introduce you to our referees. First of all, I passed out some sheets to some of you. Tried to talk some of you into fighting tomorrow, but some of you weren't interested. But anybody, these are the expectations from the Iowa Athletic Commission right here. If anybody needs a copy of this, will you raise your hand right now? We'll have Rob Hinds pass them around. But these are, I'd like everybody to familiarize yourself with this if you are a corner person or a fighter for tomorrow. This is what I'm going to be going over, and so I'm going to do it kind of quickly, and I expect people to read through this stuff. The first thing I'm going to do is a roll call here real quick and find out who exactly is here amongst the fighters. If you're just a representative of the fighter, just identify that. If you're the fighter, say I'm here. If it's a representative, identify yourself as a representative for the fighter. Megan Goodwin. Here. Kelly McGill. Here. Jamie Moyle. Here. Jenny Lou Shriver. Jenny, have a representative? Okay, Jenny's back. Andrea Lee. Shannon Sin. Here. Amanda Bell. Here. Maria. You're the representative for Maria. Liz McCarthy. Here. Amber Brown. Jody Esquivel. Here. Nigdali Rivera Kalana. Kalana. Thank you. I'm going to be challenged here with a few of the names here. Caitlin Young. Here. Raquel. Here. Carolina. Here. Carolina. Mizuki. Barb Honchek. Here. And Takeo. All right, very good. So we have virtually everybody. Now, anybody who is going to be using a translator for any portion of the fight tomorrow during the time, will you please check in with me right away afterwards so I can go over a few things with you individually at that time. So when I'm done here, as soon as I'm off, if you're going to be using a translator at any point, just check in with me individually. When I go over the rules, I'm going to do it fairly quickly, and if there's something I'm going over that you have a question about, don't hesitate to interrupt me. Just throw your hand up in the air and let me know right away if you got a question. If you have a question, probably other people have a question about the same topic, and I appreciate getting those questions right away from you. The first thing is that tomorrow when you check in, the check-in time, I believe the first wave of fighters is coming over here at 5 o'clock. And once you're here, you'll check in. A commission member will be down in the locker rooms back there. You'll check in with us, and then you have to stay in the locker room. Okay? It's not the best locker room facilities in the world. I'll admit that right up front. But once you do get here and check in with the doctor, it'll be the first thing you do after you check in. You have to stay here. If you need to leave for any reason, please don't go AWOL, because that's a huge problem for us. So check in with the commission and make sure. There is a restroom back there. The restroom will not be someone's locker room. We will have that blocked off for anybody who needs to use that. That'll be for the fighters and the corner people to use back there. Except for the title fight, each fighter is going to be allowed 2 corner people. And it's the fighters in their corners who will be, and you'll be credentialed, and that's going to be who's allowed in the locker room. Please police yourselves. Don't sneak somebody back into the locker room. There's not a lot of room back there. It's not the best, like I say, it's not the greatest setup in the world for a locker room. So we appreciate your professionalism in keeping a professional atmosphere back there and not bringing a bunch of people. There is an area right outside the locker room that if you check in with a commission member and you need to see somebody out there, you can do that if it's absolutely necessary. Corner people, you know your job. Be responsible for your fighter. Make sure they've got all their necessary equipment. We do not license, unlike a lot of states, and probably a lot of you have fought in a lot of other states and not fought here in Iowa. We don't license corner people in the state of Iowa. We do hold the fighters accountable for everything that the corner person does. Okay, so if your corner person does something really stupid and goes in the audience and gets in a fight, the person I hold accountable for that is the fighter. We don't have a license to take away from the corner person. So please be responsible for your fighter, take care of your fighter, and don't do anything to get your fighter in trouble. Again, we expect you to police yourselves in the corner, so when you get out to the corner cage side and somebody wants to come in and sit down in your corner and join you in the corner, we expect you to tell them they can't be there. The commission will be there in the corner with you, and it'll send them away, but please police your corners as well. Once the fighter is checked in and had your physical, you shouldn't at that point be drinking any energy drinks, taking any medications that you haven't cleared through the doctor and the commission, or anything like that. Be water back there, professional locker room, no drugs or alcohol, obviously. We only allow water in the corners during the fights, no electrolyte drinks. You can't have them back in the back, but only water actually in the corners in Iowa. Please, corner people, do not dump water on your fighter, do not spill water, do not dump ice down their pants or spill ice in them. There will be a commissioned person with you. Hopefully you'll get to communicate with them and get to know them a little bit and have some communication with them so you guys can understand each other's expectations. The commission folks tomorrow will be dressed in black, and it'll say Iowa Athletic Commission in the corner. They'll be stationed in the back, and just check in with anybody who's got the black polos on and say Iowa Athletic Commission on it if you have questions. They do have cut people here, and they've got a greaser, so we expect that you will not have anything on your body, any Vaseline, oils, gels, anything like that. In fact, if the commission sees anything like that in the back, we'll confiscate it. So if you got a nice bottle of lotion, just keep it away. Don't bring it here tomorrow. We'll take those things if we find them, so don't have any lotions. When you get up to cage side, then the referee's going to inspect your equipment. The greaser will apply a mask of Vaseline on you, and that's all you should have on your body at that point in time. There will be a cut person in each corner, I believe, and you're allowed, amongst your two corner people, one can go into the cage between rounds, and a cut person can go into the cage between rounds if necessary. I'm not going to spend a lot of time about hand wraps. The Athletic Commission does not need to watch you wrap, okay? We need to inspect your hands after you've wrapped. We will be spot checking to check and make sure you're doing the wraps correctly. And if you have a question before you get started about something maybe unusual that you like to do in your wrap, then you should check in with the commission. But in general, understand that it's only gauze and tape. We don't require that you use white tape. It's not required to use white surgical tape in Iowa, but it's recommended. But there's no pre-wrap, no spongy foam wrap of any kind. It's gauze and tape only. Do not pack in the tape, obviously, or get your wraps wet. Once you have them wrapped, when you're ready to put your gloves on, bring your chief second to check in with the Athletic Commission. We will check the wraps, make sure everything's okay. We'll check the gloves. We'll watch you glove. Then we'll watch your corner person or whoever you've got to tape the gloves up. We don't do any of that work, though, so make sure you bring your glove person with you when you're ready to do that. We appreciate it if you wait until you're actually ready to put your gloves on to come have us sign off on the wraps. Again, if you want to check with somebody and just make sure that the wraps look okay and there's nothing unusual about it, you can do that. But we appreciate not having to sign off on them, have you run around for 20 minutes and then come back with your gloves after that, because we've just got to check them all over again. Before I turn over to the, aside from that, then we'll be checking everything else. We'll be checking to make sure that you don't have your fingernails or toenails too long. Basically the basic padding rule that, if you hit the table like this, you should hit your fingers first, not the fingernails. So keep your fingernails and toenails trimmed. We'll be checking to make sure that you've got approved shorts and tops, all your piercings are removed, all that kind of stuff. If you've got any question about any of that, check in with us right away. We do not allow full-length spats. or any kind of full-length leggings that should go just right below the knee and no further down than that. Are there any questions about any topic at all that I've covered before I turn things over to our two referees here? Again, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Yeah, you said about only one corner match starting into the case. Is it only one captain is needed?
I'm sorry, only one?
Because you said that only one corner man can enter the cage in between rounds. At all time, or only when a captain is needed?
One corner person can come in and corner person can go in the round between every round, regardless of whether a cut person is needed or not. Is that the question?
Yeah. Why?
Yes.
That's unusual for MMA.
It's unusual to have a person going in.
No. He can go in with the cut man. Like, if somebody gets cut, both can go.
Hang on, guys. We'll address it. What he's asking, if no cut man goes in, they're allowed one corner. I think what he's getting to, they want two corners to go in between rounds, which.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
You want.
But if you have the cut man go in,
There's
you have
only one.
correct. So.
Two can come in.
Or the ordinary Iowa rule is that only one person would go in between rounds. Is that now? And I haven't talked with the promoter in this instance to see if they would like a variance on that rule, and we can discuss that. Is that if I personally don't have a problem with it, but the way our rules have been interpreted in the past is only one of the cornermen goes in between rounds. I'll check with the promoter on this, and I'll get back with folks and get a final ruling on that. Okay.
If you want to approve a variance, Joe, you can approve a variance and let everybody know.
And just so you know, that's something we're used to here in Iowa. If you're from a place where we haven't used that, I have no problem with doing that variance. Just let me check in with the promoter. But let's just assume that two people can go in for now, and I'll let you know if it's otherwise. Okay. Any other questions at this point in time? All right, I'm going to introduce you to our two officials for tomorrow. These are the referees for tomorrow. It's Rob Hinds and Bruce Allen.
I'm a little taller up here, I like this. All right, I'm using the microphone for a mic check. My voice is very loud, so you will hear me anyway, but I'm going to hold this up just for production people.
Thanks, Rob.
My pleasure. Thanks, Gordon. All right, before we get started on the rules, I know everybody in here has quite a bit of experience. We're not going to stand here and tell you every single little foul. Basically, what Bruce and I are going to do is we're going to let you know our expectations and what we're going to do in the situations of certain fouls. Does that sound good to everybody? Or should we just run down the whole list top to bottom? If we need to talk about biting or eye gouging or anything like that, chances are another profession may be a little more suited for you. Okay. To get started first, does anybody have any questions initially on the unified rules of mixed martial arts? Yes, sir.
When you have the problem, you knee them in the head, they put a hand down. Can you stomp on their hand when they bring their hand up? Go back to the knees to the head.
Great. Great question. When we address what a down fighter is and what can happen then, I will absolutely address that question, sir. Is that good?
Yes, and also on that event, you can stomp the feet when they're quartered, like they're covering up. Can you stomp the ankles?
Okay. We will address that as well when we go over what a grounded fighter is. Is that fair to you?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else before we get started? Good. In case you didn't recognize Rob Hinds, Bruce Allen. Tomorrow night, we will have our assignments, and what will happen is Bruce or I, we will address you directly as your particular referee for the bout. We're going to go through the general rules now. If there's something you want to ask, please ask now. There are no dumb questions. If there's something within your strategy that you don't want your opponent to know, we will absolutely be available all the way up until the start of the event tomorrow to address those specific questions for you. All right, starting from top to bottom, as far as the corner people and the coaches, we're expecting you to stay seated, no banging on the catwalk, no crawling up on the catwalk, anything like that, and we're asking you to coach your fighter. Bruce and I, we don't need or want your coaching. If you have something that you want to speak to us about in between rounds, you're absolutely available to do that. Our strong suggestion to you is to coach your fighter and continue that. Does that sound fair to everybody? Good. All right. As far as the actual rules of the contest and what we're expecting, we'll start with striking. Striking, the couple of things you really need to know, one of them is as far as elbows go. Elbows, thank you. Could I get rid of that for good?
Thank you very much.
Okay, now I can speak with my hands, I'm Italian. So, with the elbows, the only elbow you cannot throw at any place, anytime, any position, is reaching straight up to the ceiling, coming straight down to the floor. We call it 12 to 6, or sealing the floor. If you want to throw that same type of elbow, all you have to do is arc or angle your arm just a little bit. Anything with an arc or angle on it will be considered legal. If you reach straight up and come straight down, that's when Bruce and I are going to warn you. Does that make sense to everybody? Good. For a standing fighter on their feet, you can punch, kick, knee, elbow the head, punch, kick, knee, elbow the body, all legal targets. One of the things that's always questionable, no matter where you go, is the back of the head. This is the only rule within Iowa regulations that's different from just about everywhere else you complete, is the definition of the back of the head. The back of the head in Iowa is what we call the earphones rule. If you were wearing a set of earphones, everything behind the earphones is considered illegal. Everything from the earphones and forward is considered legal. So basically where the ear comes over to the top of the head, this entire area back here, and of course all the way down the spine, including the tailbone, is illegal. A good indication that you're doing the right thing, if you're attacking the ear at any point, whether it's with the point of your elbow and your forearm hits the back of the head, if you're attacking the ear at any point, you're good. Anything beyond the ear, Bruce and I are going to warn you to change your target. Now, we both know that at some point, you're going to go to punch or elbow your opponent, they're going to turn their head, and you're going to clip them in the back of the head. It's our job to make sure that A, it's not intentional, and B, that's not your strategy for the fight. So what we will do, if somebody gets hit in the back of the head, we'll say, watch the back of the head. That's your warning not to come back a second time and do that. We understand if your opponent turns their head and you clip them, that was not your intention. Does that make sense to everybody? If you happen to get hit in the back of the head, do not lose your defense, do not look up, do not scream at us, back of the head, ref, back of the head. We will see it, we will address it, and we'll assess what's happening from there. If you happen to continue down that path of striking the back of the head after warnings, we will deduct points, disqualify. Hopefully we won't get to that point in the bout. Does that sound fair to everybody? Sir?
The first time you actually warn them, the fight continues. Second time you have to warn them, you're going to actually stop them and warn them and tell them next time you're going to get a point taken away? Or you're going to give the point right there?
The question was, when do we stop action due to warnings? And how many warnings? There's not a specific number of warnings. Here's what Bruce and I look for, and this is the first part of your question, sir. What Bruce and I look for is the intent, and we also look for the amount of damage that that strike does. If it happens to skip past the hand and just barely hit the back of the head, you'll hear from us. Watch the back of the head. If it's a solid shot and it does damage, we may stop the contest to evaluate the fighter. What's going to happen is we're going to get a position in our warnings to where we'll say, watch the back of the head, watch the back of the head. If you do it again, I will deduct a point. So we will let you know exactly when you've had enough warnings for something before we deduct points. Does that answer your question, sir? Good? Any other questions on back of the head? Okay. We talked about striking on the feet, striking on the ground. You can punch, elbow the head. You can punch, kick, knee, elbow the body. Of course, all legal targets. Staying out of the groin area, off the spine, on the ground. There's no heel kicks to the kidney, which is the old hoist Gracie if you have them in the guard and you heel kick the kidney. You could heel kick the leg, the buttocks, the upper back, all those things. You just can't heel kick the kidney from the closed guard. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Good.
You have the back, and you can heel kick the front, and you got the guy on the back, and you're laying on your back. Can you heel kick his front area, or inside area?
The question was, if you have somebody's back and you have your hooks in, can you heel kick the front of the front area? Yes, as long as it's a legal target. The kidneys are the only things you cannot heel kick from inside the closed guard. Good. Anyone else? Great. Now, one of the things that we look at pretty seriously, and a lot of people have played with the rule, is what's a standing opponent and what's a grounded opponent. And sir, if I don't answer your full question, let me know, but we're going to get into that right now. Is that cool?
Yep.
All right, sir. A grounded opponent is not 3 points of contact. It's not 4 points of contact. It's not a specific knee down. It's not a specific hand down. A grounded opponent is anything but the soles of your feet touching the mat. So I can actually have one leg up, one hand down, and I'm considered grounded. At this time, there are no more kicks or knees to the head. Period. Does that make sense to everybody? Because a lot of people think you have to have a knee down or your hand or something like that. I could just have my ass on the ground and my legs and hands up, and I'm considered a grounded opponent. I can't be kicked or kneed in the head. So it has nothing to do with the amounts of point of contact. Anything but the soles of your feet touching the mat. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Now what happens is somebody gets pinned against the cage and they start playing that game, trying to either draw a foul or get their opponent to do something where they're going to be penalized. Bruce and I are letting you all know right now, if either one of you, offensive or defensive, plays the game, you're leaving it completely up to us whether we consider it legal or illegal, and you may not like what you're going to get out of that situation. If you decide to make yourself grounded, be grounded. If you decide to come up standing, time it the best you can, come up standing. If you're defensive. If you're offensive, our strong suggestion to you, and I know I don't have the mic, am I yelling now? Or am I good?
You're good.
All right. My strong suggestion to all of you, if you're not sure if your opponent's grounded or not, kick and knee the body until you absolutely know for sure that they're a standing opponent. Did I answer it all for you?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, but
No.
stomping the hands. If you knee them in the head and they, whether they're rocked or whether they're playing the game, can you stomp on their hand to get them to bring the hand up and then knee back in the head?
Okay. The question was, if they happen to become grounded by their hand, can you stomp the hand to use that as an offensive weapon? There is no stomping of a grounded fighter. However, the stomp is just like the 12-6 elbow. If you bring your knee straight up and come straight down on a grounded opponent, that's stomping a grounded opponent. Just like the elbow, if you have any type of arc or angle to your leg, then you are able to stomp a grounded opponent. I don't make the rules, I just enforce them. I know we're all laughing, like, oh, that's silly, that's stupid. We agree. But we have to enforce it the way it is. So, to your question, if somebody becomes grounded and your fighter wants to stomp that hand, all they have to do is make an angle with their leg. They just can't come straight up and down. Cool?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Everybody clear on that? All right. When there's opponent standing and opponent grounded, if you're the person standing, you control that position. So it's up to you whether you want to continue to engage the grounded fighter or if you want them stood up. Bruce and I aren't going to encourage you either way. What we're going to do is we're going to look for your engagement. If you have your opponent down and you're playing with the ankles, you're pressed up, whatever you want to do to keep the fight that way, you keep that fight that way as long as you're busy. When you become inactive, then Bruce and I will warn you to become more active. If you want your fighter up, all you have to do is take a couple steps back. Bruce and I will come in the middle, and we'll stand your opponent. Does that make sense to everybody? Good? All right. Any questions on the striking rules, anything like that? All right. As far as submissions, all submissions are legal. Have at it. As far as cuts, bleeding, injury, that sort of thing, Bruce and I are very experienced. We're not squeamish. We're going to let you bleed. We're going to let you fight within safety reasoning. Here's a couple of things that will concern us and get us to stop a fight. If you're bleeding and the blood's running into your eyes, you can't see. Or the blood's running into your throat, you can't breathe. Those are two indications where Bruce and I may call in the physician to take a look, and then we'll assess from there whether we go on. Is that fair to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Now, if you happen to get cut, and you ask us to stop the fight, to look at the cut, you're asking us to stop the fight. It's called a verbal submission. We're going to let you compete. We're going to let you decide your own fate. Those are the couple of things that we look for. Also, as far as cuts and injury, if you happen to break your hand or break your foot during a kick during the fight, we are going to let you continue. However, if you point out and you say, "Ref, I broke my hand," we're going to call the fight. Now, if a joint becomes dislocated, broken, anything like that, and we see it, we're going to get you out of the fight. Does that make sense to everybody? Does everybody understand the difference? If you dislocate your thumb and you want to continue, we'll watch you, but don't address it with us because you're asking us to stop the fight. Good? Okay. As far as passivity and not being active in the fight, if you happen to be in an unfavorable position or on the bottom, do not look at Bruce and I to save you and just stand up the fight when you want to stand up the fight. If the fight gets stale, which means there's no improvement of position and there's no damage being done, both of you are going to hear from us. Ladies, we need you to work. Ladies, we need you to improve. Something of that sort. If you hear that, that means that not enough is going on in the fight to finish the fight or do damage to your opponent. We're asking you to do that. If you do, clock starts over, we'll continue to fight. If the fight, either clinched on the feet or on the ground, becomes stale, and we warn, what you'll hear out of me is, "Ladies, this is your last chance." What that means is, I'm going to stand you up in the next couple of seconds. Does that sound fair to everybody? Bruce, what are you going to say before you do that?
Same exact thing.
Okay. So if Bruce let you know it's your last chance to improve, that's exactly what it is. At no time will we just randomly restart you without warning you and letting you know what we're going to do first. Fair? Good. All right. Any questions on the rule part of it? What's allowed, what's not allowed?
Oh,
Okay.
real quick, submissions, twisters, fine.
We encourage it, absolutely.
Awesome.
The question was, are twisters and those kind of submissions allowed? Please do. Crowd will love it. All right. Before I turn it over to Bruce with anything I might have missed, it's our extreme privilege to be in the cage with you guys. We're there for you. We're also there to enforce the rules. It's not the opposite way around. We're not looking for you to do something wrong. However, if you do, for the fairness of your opponent, we're going to be there. Which actually, there was something I missed, so I'll address it right now. As far as stopping the fight, if you happen to get in trouble, Bruce and I are not going to stop the fight without letting you know we need you to escape, improve, do better. The only time we're going to stop the fight that way is if somebody goes to sleep. If somebody goes to sleep, whether it's through strikes or submissions, we are stepping in right away and we're gonna save that person. Does that sound fair to everybody? Okay. We know the difference between being rocked and being unconscious. Unconscious could be for 1 second, or unconscious could be for a period of time. If we see complete unconsciousness at any point, we're done. All of you need to fight another day. And the most brain traumatic injury happens on follow-up shots, not the initial shot. Does that make sense to everybody? Good. Again, it's our privilege to be in the cage with you. We're there for you. Thank you very much for your attention. Bruce, do you have anything?
Just one thing, Rob always makes my job easier because he's so thorough and precise with his meetings. So I just want to touch on one thing is the cage grabs, what we will do in that instance. Okay, everybody knows, use the cage as a wall, push up against it with your feet, with your hands. You can actually go through it, just don't grab it. If you grab it and you advance your position by grabbing it, or you prevent your opponent from getting in position because you grabbed it, I've worked with Rob enough, I know we'll handle it pretty much the same way. We won't give the advantage to either fighter, we'll just restart you in the center of the cage. Everybody cool with that, in favor with that?
Yeah, one thing we do, a wall walk,
Yep.
where if you're stuck in mount, you wall walk. If a toe slides in the cage, you're not gonna, that's pretty hard to grab with your toes, but
Yeah.
if they're just walking up to flip them over.
I'm going to give you the honest, direct, current definition. Your fingers and toes can go through the cage. It's when you grab, that's when it becomes illegal, which a lot of people are confused about. Do me a favor, everybody. Shake your hands out real quick. Shake your hands out. Show me your palms. Are anybody's fingers perfectly straight? No. Absolutely not. We understand there's a natural curve in the hand. There's a natural curve in the toes. If you have your open hand against a cage and your fingers are through, you won't hear from us. As soon as those fingers or toes close, you'll hear from us.
Sure.
Cool?
And we will, we'll warn you, we'll bat them away. Just keep doing what you're doing, right?
And just
Go
like
back
with
to
any
fight.
other foul, if it becomes a habit, then we'll deduct points. If it becomes your strategy for the fight, we'll disqualify you and definitely need to go back to the gym and find a new strategy. Anything else? Mr. Walsh, anything? Thank you all very much. It's going to be a pleasure.
Folks, we're going to be using interpreters. Raise your... Great question. Anybody going to be using an interpreter tomorrow at all?